BrickLink Studio recently updated their transform tool into a new move tool. Let's take a look and see how it works. The first change is that there is now a move tool on the toolbar. It's taken the place of the old hinge tool, which is no longer needed. See my last video about the rotate tool for more details. When the move tool is selected, my cursor has my 3 axes moves next to it, and when I select a piece, it brings up my move options. These, of course, have the 3 axes. I have my x-axis, click and drag to move. I have my y-axis, and I have my z-axis. And all I have to do is click and drag those to move. When I'm done moving my piece, I can simply click on the next piece that I want to move. When the move tool is selected, I can use the arrow keys to nudge it 1/5 of a stud. I can use my left and right arrows to nudge it along the x-axis and my up and down arrows for the y-axis. This is view dependent, so I would need to rotate my view to get my piece to move along the z-axis, which would match the new direction of my keyboard arrows. I can click and drag with the move tool to grab multiple pieces and move them both together. I simply hit escape on the keyboard to go back to the select tool. If you're the kind of person who prefers a keyboard shortcut, you can still select a piece and then press T to bring up these transform or move options. So those are the basics. Let's dive a little deeper. As we move pieces with the move tool, they will snap according to our grid. The default grid is half a stud. You can change how large or small your jumps are with the grid dropdown. The top option, or coarse grid, is a single stud grid. The default is half of that. And the bottom is a fine grid, where it really doesn't care about snapping at all. I can slide it wherever I want. This option is great if you're looking for really precise control. Most of the time, however, it's easy to get good connections using the medium grid or the medium plate grid, which will adjust things exactly 1 plate high as we go up and down the y-axis. Where things get really interesting is when pieces are already connected. Normally, I should be able to move pieces, but if I happen to have my collision turned on, that automatically detects whether or not pieces are in conflict with each other that would be physically impossible to connect that way, I see some interesting behavior. With full stud jumps, I don't have any issues. However, when I go back to my normal plate height grid, as soon as I start to try to move things, it stops working the way I want. It will not let me move into a state of collision or pass through a state of collision, which means that the move tool is really hard to use if you have collision enabled. At that point, you're probably better either turning collision off or just clicking and dragging the piece. And of course, the move tool works not just with pieces, but also with submodels or connected pieces. So if I select my submodel, use the T shortcut to bring up the move tool for that piece, I can of course move my entire submodel and snap things into place. I feel like these changes are really great, especially for new users. I think having the tool on the toolbar is going to make it a lot easier to find. I think that calling it move instead of transforms is also easier for new users to understand without trying to decipher anything. And I think that for existing users, having it work fairly similarly is going to be great too. There's not a lot to relearn for experienced users. And they even kept our keyboard shortcut the same. It's still T for transform, even though the tool is called move now. So I think that that's all really great. And I'm excited to keep building. Let me know what you think down below in the comments.